Welcome to From the Left with Stephen Leon. Tonight's show is a bit special. I've got a special guest from South Carolina's 6th Congressional District. His name is Joseph Oddo, and he's running for Congress. So we're going to just spitball this. I kind of got an idea where he's coming from. And he's also has a show here on GCD Network on Wednesday nights. I believe that's at, geez, you know what? Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, Joseph?
Joe Oddo from South Carolina, and the program we have on Wednesdays at 9:30 p.m. is Citizens Alliance for Better Candidates, because we need folks like Stephen and anyone else who wants to stand for office to get involved.
Cool. And you're running in the Alliance Party, right?
In this state, unlike yours, I don't have to go get petition signatures when I join with a party that already has ballot status. So that was a blessing, man, because I lived in Virginia for 35 years and we ran statewide drives, man. We went and got 20,000 signatures every year sometimes, and that's a monster, man. Heavy
Yeah, there are
lifting.
some other stipulations that a party can do. I've been sending the incumbent here withdrawal paperwork, and it's kind of at their own whim when they can nominate someone else from the party without signatures, but it's for non-primary candidates. So if you were trying to run in the party, if somebody withdrew or were deceased or something like that, then they could do that form. Anyhow, so tell me a little more about the Alliance Party.
Well, it's a combination of about a dozen parties that got together after Perot had the Reform Party and a few other spinoffs from that. And some of the principles are the same, but they're a little more stringent in that we want citizens to step up and honorably run for office without the connection to the corporatism, right? Without being, we want people to be transparent about their economic endeavors, to reveal their tax returns every year, and to sign a pledge for term limits so that they offer not to stay in beyond 12 years of any office.
Yeah, I can't seem to get away from that. I did, you know, Kelly Lane, right? I saw that on your website. I did her show,
She
candidates.
was on my she was on my first program a couple of shows ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's neat to the initially the stream is supposed to be about how technology has impacted Amendment 1 and 4, especially if you think of Twitter's a good example, and with just some of the hypocritical positions that Elon Musk himself has had, and then what goes on to Brazil, and they're like, whatever opinion you might have of that, and not all free speech is protected, and different countries are different places. And just being there for on a show called Candidates for Assange, it's like there's international all that's involved, and recently he made a plea deal and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Obtained
she did a great
documents.
job. She had 65 candidates total. I was on there a couple times, once with Matt Ho, the host. So
But yeah, the conversation naturally went towards media bias and the American Anti-Corruption Act. You mentioned term limits. There is 9 years is the suggestion in that model legislation for term limits that can be massaged. Why do you? But see, there was a guy in there that I spoke in that candidate for Assange live stream, Mike Knowles, I think his name was, and he was saying how just don't vote for the incumbent as if that would be enough. And even if you got the big money out of politics, yeah, people are territorial. You don't know what kind of lack bias, or, as you were saying, some sort of connections that would squander competition. And there was the incumbent here was at this Arlington Civic Federation candidate forum, and he's trying to tell everybody that the seniority is a good thing, and it can be, but when it comes to the way Washington is now, seniority is not the way. He's mentioned Nancy Pelosi, and when I got into this game, I was very optimistic, and then I started learning more things, and everyone knows, especially on the right, because they're objective, they see that how the her stock rates, especially when it comes to NVIDIA and everything what's going on with AI, and how does that affect her policy decision making? And that goes with anything. The incumbent here, he's got a very diverse portfolio from real estate, it's all over the place. Even the state of Washington, if I'm remembering that correctly. So what do you know about the American Anti-Corruption Act? Are you familiar with this? This has ranked choice voting. It's got, I also saw that on your platform, ranked choice voting. There's also term limits, any
are you
gerrymandering.
talking about the new bill they just sponsored?
No. That's
Bayer just signed on one to offer instant runoff voting around the whole country.
it's a reintroduction from Jamie
Yeah.
Raskin over here in Maryland's
But let
seventh.
me go back, let me go back a minute to your term limits thing. One of the arguments against it is those guys get in for so long and that the only thing important to them is getting reelected because of that exact reason where the seniority rules, right? So they have no concern about what the people really want anymore. All they're going to listen to is what's it going to take? How do I have to act to win my primary so I can get reelected? Bam, that's it.
Yeah, and then
No
you've got
other
all the
real
PAC money.
concern.
You've got all the PAC money being thrown in at you, lobbyist money, where 70% of your time is dominated by just campaigning. And as you know, a lot of that is corporate buyouts. Corporations are just buying that face to circulate around. And a guy like Bayer here, the incumbent, he's a little bit older, but he's still out there knocking on doors, getting on the anti-Trump ticket, I guess, if you want to say that, with Harris and Walz. And but he doesn't talk about being objective. So that American Anti-Corruption Act is pretty cool. It's a model legislation that things can be tweaked around. So if it's not 9 years, why would 12 years be better? Or 9 years would be enough, and et cetera, to look at it, a model legislation. So I found the American
They had
Anti-Corruption.
an 18-year offer for the Supreme Court people, right?
Right.
Term limit
So
for
it doesn't
them
have to be
too.
9 across the board. It's just, what is the balance? What can we get people to agree to? I saw something, what was it on your platform? It made me think of the Digital Democracy Project. Let me pull up your campaign
Well, there
website.
was Mike Gravel's new, I mean, the Citizen Power Act that Mike Gravel was working on. Remember this guy? He used to live in Roslyn. He's gone now, but Citizen Power he wrote back in 1972. And it has good stuff in there that we still don't have today. And we're still waiting for, right? But basically, he suggested a fourth branch of government, which was the citizens
Right.
overriding and sponsoring their own legislation if they had a critical mass that of enough people behind it, then we should have another branch of government to add on to the other three.
That's what
So
allow citizen lobbying. That's what it was.
right, exactly.
And
Because right now the citizens, I can go to South Carolina and Columbia, and they have us go to the lobby where we go to the rope, and while they're in session, if they can come out and talk to us for a few minutes, they'll come out. That's how we lobby our representatives here. And they don't even have legislative aides like they do in Virginia. So at least in Virginia, you can queue up to the legislative aide, get their ear, and then maybe if you have enough interest or enough compelling people behind you,
or
whatever
money.
numbers game, it's a numbers game. Then you can meet the representative. I mean, I've met many of them representatives, like Chap Peterson years ago. He'd tell me, "Oh, we don't want competition." That's why they didn't. They make sure that they don't give an inch to the independents. I don't know if you knew Princess Blanding was on the ballot in Virginia for governor a couple years ago when Youngkin got elected, and they wouldn't let her on stage to debate the two white guys. Right? She was the sister who didn't have the money, but she was on the ballot legitimately, statewide. That's not easy to do, man.
Yeah, it's like 5,000 signatures. Well, that's for Senate. I can't remember what it is for governor,
I
but
think they lowered it during COVID at that particular time, but it's still hard to do, man, especially during COVID when
yeah.
nobody was answering the door.
So yeah, that Digital Democracy Project, are you familiar with it?
I may have heard about it. Tell me more.
So the Digital Democracy Project is breaking ground in Florida, and it's a streamlined portal. So any legislation that would come across, then you could ask the people in your district to vote on it, where they become the delegates.
Oh, good.
This would be voter registrations certified, so no one would just get on Facebook and or whatever. I
I'm
see these
surprised the dictator DeSantis is letting that go through.
well, he's got no power to say whether or not that can. You know what I mean? It's software for Congress, and even then, even if he tried, he would just continue to show his true colors. Why would you want to ban that? Why would you want to ban a direct portal to the constituents. A lot of, check it out.
Because their direct donors are not the citizens. The direct donors are the corporatists who, run the whole show up there. So, I mean, he's one of those critters who came out of Congress and then got governor. I mean, those people are deep in the establishment, man. Those are the people that
Yeah.
we need to replace with term limits.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything of them trying to, there's always opposition. They fabricate, make whatever it is. What was it recently? Geez, Tusley Gabbard from Hawaii? Tulsi, right? I always get that
A
backwards.
sellout, another sellout.
Right, just jump ship from the Democratic Party.
Just like RFK did.
Yeah.
It's a shame that the con man, he's so smooth, man.
Well, and when it goes
And it's just amazing that people fall for that.
he's not smooth. It's just the fact that people look at their politicians. I always say this all the time. It's with most things we can expect, just on average, to have 5 layers to them. If that's any task you have to do at home or kind of thing you have to do at work. And then when it comes to politics, people only look at 2 of the 5 rings in an onion. And it's like, it's too much effort. They expect a lot of politicians to just be like mechanics and just trust whatever they say. And if you go again, there's a lot of psychology within there. If you even go against the grain, then you're a troublemaker or whatever it is. So, it's really about encouraging media literacy. And that's why I brought up, especially when it comes to Trump, Tulsi. They say that right, Tulsi. I looked on her, it was a while back, maybe within the last 6 months, and she wasn't saying that media literacy was a negative, but we shouldn't be teaching it in schools. And if a school was to do that, like, I don't know, I talked about this on that Kelly Lane show on, would we want to mandate that? For maybe not. I mean, as long as it wouldn't cost any money, but even then, what business do youths have for media literacy? But if you're talking about juniors and seniors, you're going to be voters anyways. But they just, their prefrontal cortex isn't even fully developed until 25 on average for men and women. So, like, how much are they even going to grasp? The brain itself doesn't even care that it's going to die until you're about the same age. So, I don't know.
There's so many layers, like you say, to media literacy. What an important underlying component to that is civics literacy, and knowing the whole functioning, the way the government functions, and to get some kind of sense of obligation to give back to the country who's given you these freedoms that we should not be taken for granted, because that free speech thing, they are chipping away at it, and they're trying to get rid of it. So
even then, you exercise free speech. I don't know the metrics in my district, but when I go after buyer over here, like, I don't know what people are thinking. I don't know what they're thinking. I've done my homework. I've done the research. Check it out. And here it is. This is why he shouldn't be reelected. And this is why I should. Right. And so I don't know. I don't know what people haven't. Well, I don't know. There's a silent majority. Right. So a lot of people, there's this one guy, Robert Herring or whatever. I said something in Buyer's post, you know what I mean? Like, those are the only resources I have is to use social media. And then there's some groundwork I can do at farmers markets. I'm thinking about going to this farmers market on Friday or Saturday morning and just getting my bullhorn out there and just talking, I have to, of course I can't curse or anything like that, but and just, I don't know, I might just be literally shouting at the wind if I go out there and do that. Is it even worth it? But anyway, so I'm in one of these posts, and then this guy just came back and he's like, blah, blah, blah. When this is all over, we don't have to read your inane comments anymore. And I was like, define inane. And then, and he just couldn't. He could, just because I'm being objective, because this is the way our representative has been. I've always voted for the guy myself. Sure, you would think, just because I'm an opponent, that I would just make up something. That's not it at all. So if you were to win, Joseph, what would you do differently than Clyburn? He's the incumbent over there.
Well, first of all, I've already won. We win by running, getting
Okay.
on the ballot. People get to see what our issues are. The media ask us, why are you doing this? So I may not get elected. So your question should be reframed. You see, I don't frame things in the same way that the R's and the D's do. So if you frame the question and said, what would I do if I was elected? then the first thing I do is campaign reform, election reform. Instant runoff voting countrywide, same day voter registration. Why should people have to register a month before the election? They should be able to just show up with their proper ID at the proper polling place and be able to register to vote right then and there and vote. Simple, bam, get done with it, over.
We have
I mean,
electric voting.
they make things so complicated on purpose because they don't want so many people to vote, because they want a small pool of swing voters who are the only ones that they have to address. That's it. That's what they want. Right now, let's get rid of the dang electoral college. I mean, that's just a stupid thing as well. Why not? Shouldn't people's vote count more than 5 states, 10 states, or battleground state? That's it. That's the only places you see these people campaign. They don't. The rest of the states go to hell. Who cares?
Yeah, I've thought about that electoral college, and the positive of it is that people are going to have their bias to rural and urban areas. And I only started being able to think in both ways when I talked about my patent, that infrastructure, the energy infrastructure patent. And I started to see things in a different way and how this would impact people's lives everywhere. So then I started to look at the electoral college and be like, well, I can see, well, that would pretty much bring everything up to the popular vote. And the left has had the majority on a lot of issues for a while, right? Which is why the right is fabricating a lot of things. Just like you're saying, they're trying to make it smaller, or just all different kinds of things that from media illiteracy to gerrymandering to just pushing you out somehow.
Yeah, that's another one. It's all 10 points of my national election reform platform. That's what I've been pushing actually for 25 years, man.
So on day one,
Like
if you got
even
elected,
giving the DC voters a representative in Congress. There you are across the river from people who aren't represented anywhere in Congress, man.
yeah, I support DC
that's just
statehood.
both.
Listen to my idea for DC statehood. The reason why is you probably know that the right isn't going to give the votes for DC statehood because they're afraid. Keyword afraid is that the left is going to push socialist. Even if you look at, if you're familiar with GovTrack, you can see where politicians rank, and Eleanor Holmes Norton is a representative, but she can introduce things.
He's a shadow representative.
Right, exactly. So, but she's like way far left. She's way far left with things. So,
well, that's DC. I mean, that's
yeah. I mean, but that's
back
kind of
when Davis had introduced the bill back in 04, 5, 6. They were going to give Utah another vote in the House, so they were going to balance it with one red and one blue.
Yeah. So the thing is that that's kind of a call. There's a lot of socioeconomic depression in Washington, D.C., and it's just kind of, but that wouldn't necessarily balance it out. So I think if we could just sum up the major party ideologues to general welfare, FDR kind of thing, and then fiscal responsibility, which would be Nixon kind of thing. So if you blend those two together, and if you could get, other than promising, I don't know how you're going to get Congress to litigate and balance, like, hey, look, we're not going to go socialist here on the left. We know what that is, and we know that it hinders progress, and then it'll be really boring too. Life will be very boring. We're all going to wear the same clothes. I'm exaggerating. But then on the right, where we want to have moderate regulation with just about everything, because they have this deregulate everything since Reagan, and when it comes to the Anthropocene era that we're in, our own bodies have regulations, and it's just that moderate balance, and it can be done if we can promise to do that with one another, moderate regulation and not go socialist. Then that could be our precipice to have a 51st state, and then we would actually have some credibility when it comes to foreign nations, and when boundaries get crossed over there, that beacon of the world, we'd have some people don't want us in their other countries.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a state. The fact that they should have a representative, though, they can still be the federal territory.
But it's the ideology. That's what it fundamentally comes down to.
Because then if you give them a state, you got to give them 2 senators then.
Right. I mean, and where are they going to put their capital? Their state capital.
So I think underlying what you're assuming, though, is that the current system will work and it will not. That's my premise.
No. I'm
The
not assuming
people,
that
the
it's.
people who we ask for votes, we're asking for them to strike the other two parties. Just go on strike against them. Make this a long-term investment. Do not waste your vote on either R or D anymore until they promise to fix stuff. The system is broken, and you can get the best people to get elected into a bad system, and they're going to turn bad too, just like AOC. Maybe we had great hope for her, right? But
Yeah,
now
right.
she's out there as one of the attack dogs against Jill Stein. Let's knock Jill Stein off the ballot. Why? I mean, that's anti-democratic as it gets. And so
Yeah.
now Jill Stein in Nevada got knocked off the ballot. Guess what? Republicans are going to underwrite her legal costs and get her all the way to the Supreme Court to elevate her. That's a win for the Republicans. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's,
they are so dumb in what they do. Don't even think through the long term. There is no anything democratic about what they're trying to do.
yeah, it's really about getting the best ideas, and they don't really belong to any party. I like to see the Green Party become more of a technology-oriented kind of party. They have a lot of parallels and social causes with the left, and et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, if you're elected, and me as well, American Anti-Corruption Act, it's the same thing you're talking about. There's a lot of campaign reform in there, and that would be that. I have all these equal priorities, so I can really
Who sponsored?
represent us.
Oh, okay, right.
Check it out. I need to let you go. I need to talk to my audience about this video that I just did. And
All right, brother. Well, thank you for the opportunity. Keep up the
definitely,
good work.
you too. I'll talk to you later.
Peace.
Take care. Okay, audience. So, right. So I made this video, and it's basically pushing, it's a Facebook post. I have it pinned on Twitter too. And hopefully I've been saying for a few weeks that I would develop this and then ask for donations to help circulate it. Right now I've got $20 a day of my own money, within my budgets, where I could be saving it for other stuff, but I figured I'm not going to go out without a fight, even if I am just a write-in. So I'm going to play it for you guys. And let me share my screen. And then you can take a look if it's worth sending $5, $10, whatever it is. And then maybe I'll have a couple minutes. Yeah, I'll just put. Greetings, neighbors. My name is Stephen Leon, and I'm running for the House of Representatives as a left-leaning independent. I bring to the table a plethora of legislative novelties principled of genuine bipartisanship. From the American Anti-Corruption Act, Digital Democracy Project, pro-choice, climate change resolves among party lines exploring price controls for food, housing, energy, raising wages, and more. More details are found on my website. We must unseat Don Beyer. I've always voted for the guy myself, but getting in this game as an opponent, I've discovered his unworthiness. To name a few, doubling his net worth to $124 million since being representative, is one of the most lucrative stock traders in the House. Has pledged big money is the problem, yet always campaigned with it, proclaims there's virtually no government corruption, and has returned to college while still in office during one of the worst Congresses in history, studying artificial intelligence with no position to protect jobs from it. The only catch is that you probably won't see my name on the ballot among reasonable circumstances. So I'm asking if you're writing, what good is a name on the ballot with the likes of Don Beyer anyway? Also to remind that Biden won the New Hampshire primary as a writing. I've been in contact with the other independent candidates, Bentley Hensley, technical product manager, and Dave Kennedy, a financial analyst. The idea is that if I win the election, I will hire them onto staff by combining their skill sets and platforms, also giving them equal access to the media to sell this through, because many of the ideas do not belong to just one entity. If this is your first time voting, make sure to register. This will be a historical precedent. Talk about this with all your neighbors, and this can be done. Thank you for taking the time to view this ad, and feel free to contact me with that information found on my website, or just ask any questions you may have in the comment section of this post. Please also check out my unscripted weekly live stream show hosted by the GCD Network on Sundays at 9 p.m., where and when I talk about everything that is going on and how to solve it with any power the government actually has. Past shows are found on my YouTube channel. Thank you and take care. So that was quite a lot for a minute and 53 seconds or whatever it was, because I've got the basic version on Twitter and they only let you have 2 minutes and 20 seconds. I want to emphasize how I mentioned exploring price controls. I've talked to a lot of economists on it, and we're not sure that we're going to be able to get it done. So, and this is good that I know that a lot of the audience here on the GC network is right oriented and maybe somewhere in the middle. And that's the idea here is that what are the experts saying? And I'm okay with pushing an idea out there. And if it's not going to pan with that general welfare fiscal responsibility balance, I'm going to get it. I'm not going to start making things up and start doing trash talking and all these different things. One novel thing that you're probably going to like is that Gross Domestic Product Protection Act. I've talked about that. We can create incentives here in the US to bring jobs back, but that's just, those are incentives. If that incentive weighs out better for whatever executive to exploit cheap labor in India or China or whatever it is, then we're going to need to have a law for it. So go on my website, you can take a look about, there's like 4 different points with the concepts within the gross domestic product protection. I've talked about it. It's the decoupling from China, the offsetting the fossil fuel assets for the green premium. Don't be afraid of just that terminology, green premium. It's not a Green New Deal. It's an alternative to the Green New Deal. It's a balance of it. We would have a lot of bringing all those jobs back incrementally. We can create incentives to our continental socioeconomics, such as Mexico it would give those that would want to cross here illegally a reason not to do it, right? Because again, it's conceptual. And then yeah, so that's what I'm asking for when it comes to donations is to have somebody on the left, a real unifying kind of thing. And maybe I'll do another video, it was really cheap to make. I could probably do, there's little imperfections that are in there. But yeah, I mean, it's the best I got. And it's a real thing, when it comes to abortion. I know that a lot of people on the right don't support abortion. There's also a lot of people on the right that do. And if you've seen my platform, you know that I'm advocating for a federal and state balance. So there's not much I can do as a federal candidate, as a representative to impose a state model the way after post Roe v. Wade. But federal, yes, and that's a 3-month minimum of protection. So like if you have one state that only wants it, they don't want a state law, then that 3-month would apply. And if it's out of that, they could go to another state and take care of it. And then they can come back to their home state and not have their 8th Amendment violated. And quite frankly, even their First Amendment violated. So yeah, that's really what that video is about. It's an extension of my platform. It's just Joseph had mentioned pretty much everything that I go after the incumbent for, except for the fact that he doesn't want to protect jobs from AI because he's being lobbied to, is that big money. It's that campaign reform. It's not giving candidates that want to do better in this world, in this country. And it's just the guy's going back to college. Think about that. At first glance, you would think that, oh, what a smart guy. He's in his mid-70s and he's going back to college to study AI. He's really smart. What an expression of where we are here in Arlington. But you're not adding all the time that he's campaigning, all the money, all the lobbying, and then going back to school, working on a master's while we're not protecting jobs on it. Wow. When I saw this, it's like, you got to be kidding me. And again, maybe I just have that thing about being an opponent and I'll have to be objective. If you're going to be objective at me, bring it. I have yet, no one has been able to do that. So anywho, it's 9:30. I got to get out of here. I hope you enjoyed the guest and I'll probably start inviting some more.
Stephen.
Thank you very much.
Stephen, I have a quick question for you before you end your show. It's Reverend Dr.